Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another interesting episode of Dr. Sal's classroom. Now, let's continue peptic ulcer. Previous class we have discussed about H. pylori and how they can cause peptic ulcer. This class we are dealing with NSAID and how they can cause peptic ulcer. Non-steroidal anti-inflammatory agents are classified into non-selective COX inhibitor, which includes salicylates, propionic acid derivatives, phenamate, enolic acid derivatives, acetic acid derivatives, and pyrazolone derivatives. Salicylates consist of aspirin. Propionic acid derivative consists of ibuprofen, naproxen, ketoprofen, and flurbiprofen. Phenamate consists of mefenamic acid. Enolic acid derivative consists of piroxicum and tenoxicum. Acetic acid derivatives consist of ketorolac, indomethacin, nebumeton. Pyrazolone derivatives consist of phenylbutazone and oxybutazone. Next, we have the preferential COX-2 inhibitors, which consist of nemucilide, diclofenac, aceclofenac, melicoxib, and etodolac. Coming to the third class, we have selective COX-2 inhibitors, which consist of celecoxib, etorecoxib, parecoxib. Last, we have analgesic antipyretics with poor anti-inflammatory action. This class consists of three derivatives. First one is para-aminophenol derivative, which consists of paracetamol, the commonly used drug. The second we have pyrazolone derivative, which consists of metamizole and propionazole. The last we have benzoxazosine derivative, which consists of nefopam. The gastric mucosal damage caused by NSAID are mainly happening through two important mechanisms. First one is direct or topical irritation of the gastric epithelium, and second one is by systemic inhibition of endogenous mucosal prostaglandin synthesis. Usually the initial injury is initiated topically by the acidic property of many of the NSAIDs, and also due to their ability to decrease the hydrophobicity of the mucus gel layer in gastric mucosa. Most of the non-aspirin NSAIDs have topical irritant effect, but aspirin is the most damaging. Although NSAID prodrugs, enteric-coated aspirin tablets, salicylate derivatives, and parenteral or rectal preparations are associated with less acute topical gastric mucus injury, they can cause ulcer and related GI complications as a result of their systemic inhibition of endogenous prostaglandins. It is really important to know the arachidonic pathway before we study about NSAIDs. Now let's look into the arachidonic pathway. The membrane phospholipids act on the phospholipase A2 to give two important pathways for arachidonic metabolism. They are cyclooxygenase pathway and second one is 5-lipoxygenase pathway. As we are learning about NSAIDs, we can focus on cyclooxygenase pathway. The cyclooxygenase pathway form an intermediate compound called the cycloendoperoxides. They are the prostaglandin G2 and prostaglandin H2. Enzymes, many of which are tissue specific, then convert the cycloendoperoxide into final biologically active prostaglandins. The PGE2 and the PGF2 alpha causes vasodilation. The PGF2 commonly produce vasoconstriction mainly in the large veins and arteries, preferably pulmonary arteries and veins. Vascular endothelium produces prostaglandin I2, a potent vasodilator. It also inhibits platelet adhesion to the endothelium, hence it has an antithrombic action. PGE2 and PGF2 alpha uniformly contract human uterus, both in pregnant as well as non-pregnant women. Many women experience dysmenorrhea. This is associated with increased prostaglandin synthesis by the endometrium. Hence, NSAIDs are highly effective in relieving dysmenorrhea in most women. The PGF2 alpha, PGD2 and thromboxane A2 are potent bronchoconstrictors, while PGE2 is a powerful bronchodilator. However, PGI2 produces mild dilatation. In few individuals, aspirin-like drugs consistently induce asthma, possibly by diverting arachidonic acid to lipoxygenase pathway. This happens because cyclooxygenase pathway is blocked by aspirin-like drugs. In gastrointestinal tract, the propulsive activity is enhanced in man by prostaglandin E2. It also causes colic and watery diarrhea. PGE2 or prostaglandin E2 act directly on the intestinal mucosa and increase water, electrolyte and mucus secretion. In contrast to this, PGI2 does not produce diarrhea and intact opposes PGE2 and toxin-induced fluid movement. This may be the reason in certain diarrheas aspirin can reduce stool volume but is not uniformly effective. There is an association of low incidence of colon cancer with regular intake of aspirin. In kidney, prostaglandin E2 and prostaglandin I2 increase water, sodium and potassium excretion and has a diuretic effect. Thus, NSAIDs tend to retain salt and water. The diuretic action of furosemide is blocked by indomethacin, indicating a facilitatory role of prostaglandin by increasing renal blood flow and or augmenting inhibition of tubular reabsorption. Have you heard about Bartter syndrome? This is characterized by decreased sensitivity to angiotensin II is associated with increased prostaglandin production. Many of these manifestations are improved by prolonged use of NSAIDs. The cyclooxygenase is a rate-limiting enzyme in the conversion of arachidonic acid to prostaglandin and is inhibited by NSAIDs. The two similar COX cyclooxygenase isoforms have been identified. The cyclooxygenase 1 is found in most blood tissue including stomach, kidney, intestine and platelet. The second one is cyclooxygenase 2 is undetected in most tissues under normal physiological conditions, but its expression can be induced during acute inflammation and arthritis. Cyclooxygenase 1 produces protective prostaglandin that regulate physiological processes such as GI mucosal integrity, platelet homeostasis and renal function. This we have discussed a few moments back. Cyclooxygenase 2 is induced by inflammatory stimuli such as cytokines and produces prostaglandins involved with inflammation, fever and pain. The non-selective NSAIDs including aspirin inhibit both cyclooxygenase 1 and cyclooxygenase 2 in varying degrees. The COX-1 to COX-2 inhibitory ratio determines the relative gastrointestinal toxicity of a specific NSAID. We have previously discussed that aspirin can inhibit thromboxane A2. This decreases platelet aggregation and prolonged bleeding time, thereby increasing the potential for upper and lower GI bleeding. This matter should be considered. Thank you one and all for patiently listening this session. Stay tuned to the next session.